Can you adjust that back a bit? I need to work on the light on this actually. 1 second, I'm just adjust the lighting on it. There's some more light from distance, I think. A little bit. There we go. Right, so we go. Okay, so just thinking about the season, a bit of a season review, and just thinking about the season, a bit of a season review in the football. Obviously, really happy from the point of view of being an Aston Villa fan and actually having, we've had a pretty good season, haven't we, as the Villa boys? So I'm happy with us as Villa that we've had a good season. Obviously, winning Europa is a phenomenal thing. You know, we haven't won a lot of trophies in the last 20 years. Plus, we've been to a few finals, actually. People forget we went to a few finals. We went to a couple of finals with Martin O'Neill. So we have been to finals. We just haven't won them. And even recently, we had a few years ago now, probably about four years ago or so, we had League Cup final where we lost to Man City. I think it was 2-1. I think. So we have been to finals, guys, but in terms of actually winning them, that's been a struggle. And the last time we won one was against Leeds United in the League Cup. Villa winning that one at Wembley. I think I remember it. Savo Milosevic might have scored in that one, and maybe I think Ian Taylor as well. If I'm remembering correctly. I don't know. I need to check that out. I think I'm remembering that correctly. But season review. Just thinking about the teams that have done really, really well and the teams that kind of. I have to go back to Arsenal again. I think Arsenal, on paper, you would have to say Arsenal had a great season. On paper, Arsenal have won the Premier League. They've got to a Champions League final. They got to the League Cup final. On paper, Arsenal have had a really good season. Yet I've never come across a team that's won the league, got to a Champions League final, and got to a cup final, and that team still it has a lot of pejorative sentiments against that team. People do not like Arsenal Football Club. They do not like Arteta. They don't like how Arsenal play. They don't seem to generate, people that are just sort of casual fans who like teams that are doing pretty well. They don't seem to be able to draw those people in, and so Arsenal seem to have a strange thing of polarizing people, and it's like Marmite. You either love them and you're an Arsenal fan, or you hate them. Hi, chicken. Greetings. Yeah, they're a strange club, Arsenal, at the moment. You've won the Premier League, but still, a lot of people just say they play boring football. That Arteta is a very boring manager. They are too negative. They try to bully teams a lot. They're a bit dirty how they play. Then they play football with the wrong spirit. A lot of fans on social media have just been saying that, like, they thank goodness that PSG beat them, because you can't have your champions of Europe playing like that. Playing, essentially trying to the only way they're trying to score is from a corner or a penalty or a free kick. And I don't know where that's come from, because Arteta, I know he's at Man City for a while, but he played. I think I'm correct. He played under Wenger. I think at some point, and Wenger wasn't. Wenger didn't play like that. Arsene Wenger didn't play like that. So I don't get why. I don't get where it's from. I don't know why Arsenal play that way. I don't know. I know you can say it's in their DNA back to the George Graham days of the boring Arsenal sort of stuff. But even then, they had some flair players, and even then, yeah, okay, they probably were seen as a very stringent team in that sense. But even back in the day when Ian Wright was playing for them, and obviously this is pre-Arsene Wenger days. Wenger came along afterwards and completely turned the team into a beautiful team playing a very creative, imaginative football. And Arsenal under Arsene Wenger were a really good team. I know towards the end of his reign at Arsenal, people mocked him for being, they did mock him. They mocked him for kind of being like, oh, you're a bit of a kind of, you kind of only playing for the top four. Like, you're not, there's lack of ambition there. You're just happy just playing Champions League every year. But they won seven FA Cups under Arsene Wenger. You know what I mean? They won the league twice. They won 7 FA Cups. They nearly won the Champions League. And whether you liked Arsene Wenger or not, they played good football under Arsene Wenger. They were never boring under Arsene Wenger. And I wouldn't really say they were a dirty team under Wenger either. I think they were a good team under Arsene Wenger. I don't like how Arteta plays football, and I as much as I wanted Arsenal to do well from the point of view, I like English teams to do well. So I always want English teams to do well. When it comes to things like Champions League, I want the English teams to do well. I want Premier League teams to do well. So my part of me was like, well, if Arsenal win, it's good that it's a Premier League team that's won it, because I want the English teams to do well. I am loyal to my country in that sense. I want the teams from this country to do well. But then a big part of me is like, no, I can't be supporting that because they play horrible football. It's negative, it's weird. They have creative players, yet they seem to underutilize them, and they want to play this bizarre football where they just bully teams and only want to score from corners. It's very strange. And there's nothing wrong with having a good defence. In fact, having a good defence in football is good. I mean, your team will win a lot of games if your defence is good. And that proved it because they won the Premier League by having a good defence. So that's fine. You don't want, if you see a good team with a horrible defence, you think, oh, what a shame. They're a really good team. If they had a good defence, they'd win something. You could look back in football history the last 20, 30 years, 40 years, and pick out a lot of teams that were great going forward, and if only they had a decent defence, they would have won something. You think of Newcastle United back in the day, when they had people like Andy Cole there and Les Ferdinand and Shearer there, and then they were playing all this beautiful rat-a-tat-tat football, dynamic, high-paced football, and if only they could defend, they would have actually won a few more Premier Leagues. They would have won the Premier League because they didn't win it at all, but they got second place quite a few times in that iteration of the club. They'd have won the Premier League a few times if they had a decent defence. And you can say that about a lot of clubs that are clubs that are creative and have great attack, but if only they could get a decent defence going, they could win the league or win a big competition. Arsenal have got that. They've won the Premier League now. So yeah, okay, fair enough. They didn't bottle that, but they nearly bottled it. But a big thing for me is their lack of flair, despite having great attacking players. I mean, if you look at the attacking players, Saka, you look at Madueke, you look at Gyökeres is a decent player. You look at Trossard's a good creative player. They've got Martinelli, under the right coach, probably would be a decent player. Kai Havertz is a good player. The young lad coming through, Max Dowman, he's a very creative player. They've got creative players at that club. They've got good players at that club, but they seem to just play in a way that minimises those players and doesn't allow those players to sort of reach their full potential. There's talk about Arsenal buying a second striker. I think they probably will. I think they might go for a sort of a false nine type player, so sort of a player that's behind the main striker. I think they'll sell Gabriel Jesus. I think he'll leave the club. I think they'll sell him. Gabriel Jesus is on huge wages despite really struggling to sort of stay fit. So I think you've got to get him out. I think you've got to get him out the team because his fitness levels are not good enough. So I think you've got to get him out the team. I think your fitness levels are going to be better if you're going to be if you're going to be a top level player for a club like Arsenal, you've got to have your fitness levels better. So I think they'll sell him because his wages are huge. So that there's no point having players like that are not playing games for you but on huge wages. It just doesn't make any sense at all. You've got to maximise your budget. So season review for me. Let's look ahead to the World Cup now. Let's look ahead to the World Cup, and I'll do this as a little primer, and I'm going to do more videos coming up about the World Cup, which are separate World Cup videos. My overall impression so far of how I'm thinking about things is this: the World Cup I think will be amazing. I think I think it's not had a good start, as in the build up to the World Cup has not been very good. The only positive thing has been the Shakira song. I think a lot of people like the song. But apart from that, the build-up hasn't been the best, especially with the stuff going on in North America with Trump and Middle Eastern wars and stuff like that. It hasn't been the best. And people have been saying, should even North America hold the World Cup right now? Because they're not, politically, they're quite unstable. And their leadership seems to be unstable as well. But I think when the World Cup starts, I think it'll be a good World Cup. I think it'll be a good World Cup. I think Spain will be very strong in the World Cup. I think Argentina will be strong. I think Brazil will turn up. I think France will be dominant. And I think Portugal will be a dark horse and probably surprise a few. I think England, I can't gauge England under Thomas Tuchel. I can't gauge them. I think we have great attacking prowess and power. We have a lot of creative flair. Look at the players that we've left out from that England squad. People like Cole Palmer, people like Phil Foden, people like Wharton, that's at Palace, who's had a great season. If you look at the players that we've left out from that squad, that tells you how strong England are. Because if you can leave Cole Palmer out and leave Phil Foden out of your squad, and Morgan Gibbs-White, who has had a phenomenal season at Forest, if you can leave people like that out of your squad, it means you've got a very good group of players to select from. However, I think the biggest mistake he's made is not picking Morgan Gibbs-White. Morgan Gibbs-White, I think alongside Ollie Watkins, is the highest scoring British player, English player in the Premier League. So how are you not picking Morgan Gibbs-White? I don't understand how he's not in the squad. I don't get that. Phil Foden, yeah, I get it. He plays well for Man City, but doesn't play well for England. Cole Palmer, I get it. He's been injured a lot of the season and hasn't had a good season. He's had a very, very, very ineffectual season, Cole Palmer. Very underwhelming from him this year, unfortunately. But he'll be back. He's a good player. He'll be back. Look out for Cole Palmer next season, having a good season. He'll be back. Cole Palmer is a great player. Do not get it wrong. He's a great player. So even though Cole Palmer's had a bad season, and you can blame the injuries as well, to be honest, and also Chelsea's ineffectual leadership, Cole Palmer will be back. He's a good player. But Morgan Gibbs-White has had a phenomenal season, and there's no reasonable explanation to why he's not in the squad. There's no reasonable explanation to why Morgan Gibbs-White is not in that squad. There's not. And it just doesn't make sense. Why is he not playing? Why? Why is Morgan Gibbs-White not in that squad? Even if he's on the bench, he still needs to be in the squad. So it's very, very, very strange that he's not in that squad. And if we struggle for goals from midfield, and yet you've got Morgan Gibbs-White, who is the best attacking midfielder in the country, not in the squad, then we're gonna have a major problem, aren't we? We are. And I understand he's gone for Jude. Fair enough. Jude's a good player. He's gone for Eze. Okay, fair enough. Eze's had a decent season. Okay, fair enough. But I'm not convinced by that England squad. I would have took Harry Maguire as well. Harry Maguire shows up in big tournaments for England. He's getting a bit older now. I think he's, 32, 33. But I think I would have taken Maguire. I'd have took Maguire. I think you got to take Maguire. I think you do. And I think it's a mistake not taking Harry Maguire. I think it's a huge mistake. I don't know why we haven't taken Maguire. I think if you're looking for someone that's got experience, I'd have rather have had Maguire than Henderson. Because I think you could have put Adam Wharton in there, who would give you more in midfield than Henderson would. And then I'd have taken Maguire as sort of a leader, who, Maguire was in the squad. I think when we lost it in the Euros and stuff like that, and when we lost to Spain, in the Euros, Maguire was in the squad. I think he was in the squad. Maguire's been at several championships with England, so I'd have took Maguire for experience, and I would have took a young, dynamic midfield. So I wouldn't have included Henderson. I'd have gone with the young guys. I'd have gone with the young guys that have had a good season, because you're not just thinking about the World Cup guys. Even if the World Cup doesn't go according to plan, you're also thinking of the Euros 2 years after. So even if you take the young guys and we don't win the World Cup, or we don't even get to the semis, it's experience for them. Because what you're doing now, because we have so many great young players in England, you want to use a tournament to set up other tournaments. That's what you want to do. I mean, especially with young players, you want to think, you want a long-term vision. Some of these players that we've got could be around for the next 10 years. So you've got to think, even if we don't smash it at this World Cup in North America, you're setting us up for the next Euros, and you're setting us up for the next World Cup. So you've got to have a long-term vision. You really do. So if you've got young players in your squad, you think, okay, let's bring them in. Let's get them experience of a World Cup football. Get them experience of big tournament football. Set it up so that we can dominate the next 10 years. So that we can, even if we don't win this, we can we can win the Euros. If we don't win the Euros, we can win the next World Cup. And have a long-term vision. Long-term vision that we can win these big tournaments. Long-term vision. Long-term vision, that's how you got to do it. Long-term vision. So, that is my little rant about that. I'm not convinced about the England squad. I think Brazil always show up for World Cups. Even if they're unconvincing before the World Cup starts, they show up for the World Cup. Rafinha will show up. Vinny Jr. will show up. They love the World Cup. I think they made a mistake putting Neymar in the squad. Neymar's not fully fit. I think they should have took the lad from Chelsea, João Pedro, instead. I think that was a huge mistake. They've took Neymar because of his name, because of the glamour and the glitz. He's not fit. He's not fit enough for the World Cup. If they get one good match out of Neymar, they would have done well. His fitness levels are not right for the World Cup. They should have gone with João Pedro from Chelsea. I think that will come back to bite Ancelotti in the backside. Pedro's a phenomenal player, and he's young as well, hungry. You need to build up new stars. You need new stars. Why Neymar is the past, is the man from yesterday. You need to build up guys that can win you the next Copa America and then win you the World Cup after. So even if you don't win this World Cup, you got guys. And so João Pedro at this World Cup, that would have been an invaluable experience for him. You couldn't put a price on that experience for him, building him up as a world-class Brazilian icon for the future. You've got Rafinha, who's getting older. You've got Vinny Jr., who's just in his prime. But where are the young players for Brazil that you're going to think, okay, we're building you up for the future? They've got some in there, but I mean, you've got Endrick, he'll be there, fair enough. But João Pedro is a great player. He really is. I really rate him. He's a really good player. And if he was English, he'd be in the England squad. If he was Spanish, he'd be in the Spanish squad. He'd be there. He's one of those players that most countries would pick him. I think the only country you may argue with is France, because they're overwhelmingly stacked with good players going forward. But if he was Argentinian, he'd be in the Argentinian squad. If he was, think of big nations. If he was Belgian, he'd be in the Belgium squad. But you think of great nations that are at the World Cup that could potentially win it. I think João Pedro would be in any of those squads. I think they've made a huge error picking Neymar over João Pedro. And I think that could cost Brazil. Because if Neymar breaks down the first match he plays, you're down an attacker for the whole tournament. It's a huge risk. And I think the Brazilian FA, Football Federation, have probably, their football association, their federation, has probably strong-armed Ancelotti into picking Neymar, and the sponsors, especially probably Brazilian sponsors, they want Neymar in that squad, because Neymar is the equivalent of, Neymar is Brazil's version of Lionel Messi. He played with Messi, for goodness sake, at two football clubs, at Barcelona and PSG. He's Brazil's version of a Messi. And, if you think of like the top icons for teams, Cristiano Ronaldo, CR7 for Portugal. You think for England, we've got a few big hitters as well. You think France probably looking at Mbappe and Dembele and Griezmann if he's in the squad. You've got those big hitters. You've got Michael Olise for France as well. Germany have got their big hitters. Musiala's a big hitter for Germany. You've got Fabian Wirtz will be a big hitter for Germany as well. You've got these clubs have got some big hitters going for, in their teams. If you think of that, and you think, Brazil's one, it's Vinny, you've got Vinny Jr., Rafinha, but Neymar is the name that's on the level. If you say Brazil, if you say Portugal, you say Ronaldo. If you say France, you say Mbappe. If you say Argentina, you say Messi. If you say Brazil, you say Neymar. They're on the same sort of level in terms of star brand and star power. They're on the same sort of level. They're 100% on the same level when it comes to star power and brand power. They're on the same level, and so in that respect, you gotta sort of think about, you're picking those sort of guys. Yeah, if they're fully fit, you pick those sort of guys. So Ronaldo's fully fit, so you pick him. Messi's kind of had a little knock, but he'll be okay. And he doesn't tend to get injured very, very often, so you pick him. The French lads like Mbappe is fully fit, you pick him. You see what I mean? So, but Neymar's not, and he hasn't really had a good fitness record for the last 2-3 seasons at least. At least the last 2 seasons. So you think of Neymar, for the last 2 seasons, his injury record has not been very good. So are you risking it Neymar when you've got João Pedro that can do a good job for you, and he's a young lad, and João Pedro is a young lad for the future. So João Pedro is your future, and you got Thiago from Brentford is a good player. He's a good player. Igor Thiago, he's a very good player. But no, João Pedro should have been that World Cup squad for me, and that might bite Brazil in the backside. I think England, for me, if we get semi-finals, we've done well. I'd expect us to get quarterfinals at least, but if we get semi-finals, we've done well. I don't think England's squad is quite right to win the World Cup, but I'd love it if we did. But I'm not. If you say to me, Christian Van der Geet, give me a bet, give me like your team that you think could win the World Cup. I gotta go number 1 Spain, number 2 France. I don't think Argentina are good enough now, especially with Messi at his age. Not quite there now. Argentina are good, and I expect Argentina to get to maybe a semi, but I wouldn't expect Argentina to win it. Portugal would be my dark horse. Cristiano Ronaldo's still got a point to prove, and I'm a big Cristiano Ronaldo fan. So is my daughter. So we're my wife as well. We're Ronaldo fans. CR7, we're Ronaldo fans. We even went to Madeira a few years ago and saw where he grew up and stuff. We're Ronaldo fans. I think Portugal, and to my Portuguese friends of Kat and Gisela, good friends, very good friends. I got a lot of love for Portugal, so I think Portugal are gonna. I think Portugal will surprise a few people. They've got some really good players, especially they've got young players coming through that are very good. I think Portugal could surprise a few teams. They really did that. I'd have Portugal as my dark horses to win the World Cup. Portugal, my dark horses to win it. Maybe even more than England, if I'm being honest. Probably potentially more than England. But I think Spain looks incredibly strong as a footballing nation. Spain looks amazing to me. So I think if you beat Spain, if you beat Spain and you're capable of beating France, you're good enough to win the World Cup. That would be my initial thing. And to my friends in the USA on the Red 5 network, because Christian Fandom Geek and the Law Be With You podcast show are Red 5 Network shows. I would say this to you, that USA, I think you've got good players. I've looked at some of the players that USA have got. USA have got good players. They're just not a good team. I think that's my assessment of the USA is this: they've got good players. They're just not a good team. You need a coach that can bring them together into being a good team. You've got good individuals. Some of the players that are playing for USA are playing in Europe in top leagues, which tells you they're good players. And some of their players are young as well. And even from the MLS, you've got some decent players in that as well. Not great, but you'll have some decent players in that could give a good showing in a World Cup. If you add that to the good players that are playing in European football, you put it together, you've got a decent squad. Plus, you got home advantage as well of the World Cup being in the USA. So to my friends in the USA, I would say this: you've got good players, but not a good team. And Pochettino hasn't yet moulded them into a good team. But you have got home advantage, and you should have a decent North American crowd pushing you on. So do you think USA could be a bit of a dark horse as well to get to a quarter-final or get to a semi-final? I don't know. In terms of African teams, you got to look at Senegal as a very strong African team. Senegal, Nigeria didn't make it. If Nigeria made it, they would have been a strong team as well. So big love to Nigerians out there, because you've got great players. You just didn't make it the World Cup. Very unfortunate for Nigeria, because Victor Osimhen should be at the World Cup, one of the best players in world football, and he's not at the World Cup. And Nigeria are packed full of talent. They're a very good team. Maybe again great players, but not a great team. But certainly Senegal are not only got great individual players, they're a good team as well. And Senegal rightfully won the African Cup of Nations. And I know the whole thing about Morocco and they give the tournament to Morocco, forget that. Senegal won that tournament. Senegal won that tournament. The referee was corrupt, and Senegal won that tournament, fair and square for me. So yeah, thinking about the World Cup, I think USA, they have good players, but not a good team. Pochettino needs to work harder to mould them into a good team. You've got a home advantage, but I wouldn't put money on the USA. I think if USA gets to a quarter-final, they've done well. That's the best you get. The World Cup's stacked with good teams. It really is. So you can't only be having good individuals. You have to be a good team. You have to be a good team. It's not just about having good individuals. You have to be a good team. You have to be a good team for the World Cup. It's not just about individually. We've got good individuals. For the World Cup, you have to have a good team. The World Cup's it's intense. To win a World Cup is not easy. Look at how hard Argentina had to win. Look at the effort Argentina had to put in to win that World Cup against France last time. Look at the effort they had to put in to win that match. Look at the saves that Emi Martinez, the Aston Villa goalkeeper up the Villa. Look at the saves Martinez had to make, to win Argentina that World Cup final. Martinez played the best game of football of his whole career in that match. And the saves he pulled off, it was like he turned into Superman. He turned into Superman. You might as well call him Clark Kent, because the saves he was pulling off, it was like he was Superman. It was unbelievable. Turned into a Kryptonian. He was saving everything. I mean, I know, France scored, but still, the levels he got to were unbelievable. Unbelievable. He won them that World Cup. He won them that World Cup, that final. He won them that. So that's the levels you have to get to win a World Cup. You have to have some of your players literally turn into Superman. he wants to wear a red cape and whatever. Like some of your players have to turn into Superman to win that tournament. That's what needs to happen. You need to turn in. That's where icons are born and legends are made. In the World Cup, icons are born and legends are made in the World Cup. So that's the level you have to get to, where players become icons and legends, and they turn into Superman. That's levels. That's leveling up in the best way. As KSI would say, KSI go, oh, you've leveled up. That's the best I've seen of you today. Britain's Got Talent. You've leveled up. That's the best I've seen. That's the best I've seen. I can't believe this is the best I've seen. You have leveled up. What a performance. That's the best I've ever seen. Oh my gosh, you are phenomenal. You are good enough to win this whole tournament. That's my KSI impression. Anyway. You've been you, I've been me. This has been Christian Fandom Geek on the Red 5 Network. Be kind. Stay safe, especially in the times that we live in. And try and make the world a better place. And I'll be with you again soon on Christian Fandom Geek. Love ya.